Thirsty for intelligent sports talk? Sounds like you need a little Gatorade. 103.3 The GOAT. The greatest sports talk of all time.
Give me all you got! Give me all you got!
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show on a Friday, a Give Me All You Got Friday. As promised, joining me now, the head basketball coach and athletic director at Ascension Episcopal, former Ragin Cajun hooper, a man who is really excited about the return of the Cajun Chicken on February 4th, Dr. Fundamental, Eric Mouton joins me now. Good morning, Eric. What's going on, man? How's life?
It's good, man. Getting ready to take on Woodlawn of Baton Rouge tonight. So watching a little film and getting the game plan ready for a home game. The Blue Gators will take on. We're out of district tonight. We had an open date in our district, and we're going to take on Woodlawn of Baton Rouge tonight.
Yeah, you decided to schedule them.
Yeah.
That should be quite an environment tonight, Coach.
It should be. It should be a good game. They're a big athletic team, really good team from over there in Baton Rouge, and that's the kind of guys we want to play to keep us playing well and keep us at the top of our district.
Having coached as long as you have, what do you enjoy more, playing in a game or coaching in a game?
Man, I tell you what, it's close, but playing in a game, any day of the week, I'd strap it up and put it and get out there again and play. But coaching these kids this year, I've got 7 seniors, 5 senior starters. It's been a great year for us, and it's been really, really enjoyable. So it's close, but I'd rather lace them up and play.
There you go. All right. Well, Ascension Episcopal in action tonight at home, 1800 Chinnametry Parkway out in Youngsville, and going to be a great environment, great game. He mentioned it's 7 seniors, and Coach always putting it all out there. One of the most competitive guys that I know. It's one of the reasons folks remembered you and your style of play and how you played back in the day. And, as the game evolves, Coach, and as, let's just say, people evolve, right? Generations evolve. The competitiveness is like a different style. Like personalities are different. Kids are brought up different than they were back when you were a kid or I was a kid. And, I think to have a keen eye for, okay, this team is really competitive. It might not be in the traditional sense that it's as visible to everyone, but I guess my roundabout way of asking you this, Coach, is have you had to have, as an analyst, right, calling games on TV and as a coach, do you have to kind of have a keen eye, a trained eye to what, uber competitive basketball players that are young look like today? And how different is it in your mind from like back when you played at STM and then USL?
Well, the game has changed a lot. There's, we had 2 bigs inside, and a lot of our focus was to get the ball inside and, put it down there to Carol Boudreaux, Marcus Stokes, and let those guys play with their backs to the basket all the time. And then we had tweeners like Todd Hill and Kevin Brooks, who I got a chance to see Wednesday night, who was back in town, who's doing some great things out there, still overseas, giving back to the game of basketball. But the game has changed so much where most of the guys today are facing the basket, and guys get excited and get pumped up, and they're passionate about what's going on. But a lot of times it's a look at me type of attitude. And I hate that for the game. I used to get fired up, and I was competitive, but I never wanted to show anyone up unless they got nose to me and they wanted to get after it, and we'd get after it, and I had my guys come protect and do things like that. But the look at me, the Twitter, the social media, everybody wants to make a play just to post it on social media. You need to make a play to help yourself and to help your team win basketball games. So those are the plays. I think the game has changed a little bit like that. Everybody faces the basket. Everybody can shoot. Everybody handles the ball. And it's kind of refreshing to see Coach Marlin's club, and he put Jordan Brown down on the block, and that's a focal point of his game to still feed that big inside. We used to do it all the time. It's kind of a lost art. but you kind of slowly starting to see it come back into today's game.
I think the coaches that can utilize it when the matchup allows are the ones that are doing a good job, right? You're right? It's more of a guards game than it used to be, and even a lot of your bigs have somewhat of a guard mentality at times. But when you've got an opponent, you've got the size advantage. Figure out a way to change for that matchup. Figure out a way to play to your strength, and that's how you're going to win games in different ways. And I think for the Cajuns this year, I talked to Coach Marlin about this on Tuesday. They've had, Jordan Brown's been consistently awesome. He deserves his flowers, and shout out to him for being on the Oscar Robertson midseason award watch list, and he scored 31 last night. So you've had consistency out of some players, but it seems like in a lot of these games, you've had another player, and sometimes Jordan might be off or might not be as involved in the scoring. You've had a player or two step up, right? You've got a rotation that 7 guys get a lot of minutes, about 9 guys play, give or take. I don't have all the box scores in front of me, but there's somebody on any given night that you feel like, okay, this guy's going to step up tonight, and maybe they don't have a lot of scoring, so far game to game this season, but it's going to be their night tonight. Or this guy, like Themis Falks last night, right? I mean, he's a great passer, right? And you've seen certain games this year where he's had to score. And, okay, you're going to – and last night he did both. I think he had 13 and 11 assists, but then he's able to do it, right? And I think having depth and having guys that sort of let the game come to them, I got to compliment him. It's not something that you've seen every year from the Cajuns, but I think it's something you're seeing this year, and I think it's got to be nice to know for Coach, all right, maybe this guy doesn't have it this night, but this other guy, we know we can rely on him. Maybe he doesn't do it every single game. Maybe he isn't asked to, but we have that trust in him that he can do it.
Yeah, no doubt. And Coach Marlin, I think, is doing one of his best coaching jobs with this group. You've got 6'11", Jordan Brown inside, and he starts out just about every game having him touch the basketball, put it in his hands. He's one of only 3 Division I players averaging 19 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 block a game. And those 2 assists come from when other teams are just trying to take him away, they'll double team him. They'll send 2 and 3 guys at him. He's a preseason pick for Player of the Year, and he deserves that. The kid's a stud. He's a problem. And you got to send 2 or 3 guys at him, and he's able to get the ball out and find some of these guys. And you talk about, next guy up and who's going to step up tonight if someone doesn't. I think this team just loves playing together. You can see how much they pull for each other. When they make a mistake, they put it on themselves, and they tell them they're going to get it next time, and somebody will come over there and pick them up. And a lot of times it starts with your point guard. And I've been so impressed with Fulks because he does play so hard. Double-double last night to help them win. He also grabbed 6 rebounds. So 13 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds is a pretty solid effort from your point guard. He's a right-handed player that goes left. He loves to go left. And he finds guys. He's leading the Sun Belt in assists, and he's also one of the top guys on the national level in assists. So, you got those 5 starters, Fulks, Greg Williams, local product, from LCA, went to St. John's, transferred back. Kentrell Gornett from right down the road in Baton Rouge. And then Terrence Lewis, who don't miss many shots, man. He's one of the national leaders in field goal percentage. So you do have good balance, and then you're right. He has some depth. He's got some guys he can bring off the bench and play well and do the dirty work. Joe Charles, Jalen Dalcourt, another couple of local guys who played here. One at Lafayette High, one at Karen Crow. They come in, they make shots, they rebound the ball, they take charges. All of those things lead to wins.
Eric Mouton, our guest. Coach Eric Mouton, Dr. Fundamental, our guest. Great Scott Show, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420 The GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time. We talk about the difficulty of winning on the road in college basketball. Cajuns will finish a 4-game road trip tomorrow, a stretch of 8 of 10 on the road, 12 of 19 on the road. I said, Monday, and then again on Tuesday with Jay, I feel like if the Cajuns could win, and they won last night, win the 2 road games this week, I know there's some difficult opponents at home, coming up, but I really do think they can extend a winning streak that could reach double digits. I mean, I think they can get to 10 wins.
Yeah.
If they can get this one tomorrow, I think a lot of people, not a surprise, perhaps overreacted to two really close road losses to open up conference play. But it's one thing to get Arkansas State on the road, and I think they're 1-6 in conference play. And I get the Texas State. They're sitting around 500 overall. They're not necessarily the cream of the crop. They're not at the top of the standings, but this is it's really tough to win on the road. I think if you can get this win tomorrow, you really set yourself up. You're sitting at first place in the Sun Belt, but you're in a 4-way tie. This feels like, in the grand scheme of the whole conference schedule, a real crucial stretch here, this 4-game road stretch, and so far so good. I mean, they've won 3 of them. Now you want to get greedy, right? Now you want to say, get all 4, then get home and take care of business on the home floor, and that's how you can really, kind of, I guess, the way the Sun Belt Conference tournament is set up now, and it, Eric, you get one of those top 4 seeds, man, a double bye. I mean, you got to win the tournament to get into the big one. And I think finishing in the top 4 is huge, and you got a 4-way tie at the top right now. So, again, long-winded way of me saying, just go get the win tomorrow.
Yeah, and winning in college basketball on the road is one of the most satisfying things. And then once you get a conference road win, or you can pull out a conference road win, because you're out there by yourself. I mean, how many people are going to go to Arkansas State, watch that game? You get some fans that show up. You may have some local people there, but you're not having a caravan go to Arkansas State, then turn around and go support you at Texas State. It just doesn't happen. It's you against the world when you show up with your coaches, your team, your staff, your trainer, your managers, and that's all you have. And you walk into that arena, sometimes it's hostile, sometimes it's packed, and everybody in that place is against you. And for you to be tough enough to get stops and to execute on offense in an environment like that, I mean, to win on somebody's home court, was just the greatest feeling in the world. And to do it in conference games when it means so much. And then we got new teams this year, teams that a lot of people may not even realize. You look at the tie, first place, you got Marshall, Southern Miss, ULM, which is a surprise, and Louisiana. So some different teams will be coming to the Cajun Dome. Marshall's coming to the Dome, which we hadn't seen, that are just joining the conference, which will be interesting. Southern Miss came a while back. So, the road wins are huge, and then you can get back next week with Troy and Georgia Southern at home on that Thursday-Saturday stretch, and then 2 more the following week. Coach is putting them guys in a pretty good spot right here down the home stretch and into the tournament.
I tell you what, you bring up Marshall. I mentioned them before the season started as a team to look out for. Didn't know a ton about them, to be honest with you. My reasoning was simply they charter the vast majority of their flights. And you brought up, winning on the road in college basketball and how satisfying it is. I tell you what, man, when you don't have to go the route that the vast majority of mid-majors do, where, all right, you're playing on a Thursday, now you're either getting on a bus or you're flying out that night or the next day, and then it doesn't get there on time. I mean, by the time you get to some of those places, jet lag is a very real thing. Being tired from being on the road and traveling and trying to get your legs under you and all that stuff, and then it takes a little while. Being able to charter can help you out a lot as a team. And that was my only reason for saying, hey, keep an eye out for Marshall, because, they have an advantage that no one's really going to be talking about. But in the Sun Belt, when you charter most of your flights, and I don't know any school that's ever done that before, I'm not saying maybe it happened in the past with the team. I have no idea. I'm just saying when I heard that, I was like, okay, I think the Herd are a team that, might be a factor in the Sun Belt this year.
Yeah, it's huge. You normally get there the day before, and you get a practice in on the court that you're going to play on the next day, and you'll eat as a team that night, get a good meal, get to the hotel. Then the next day, you're going to get up and go back and shoot in the arena. You have a shoot around that day. Sometimes the coach will walk through the game plan, or if there's an assistant coach who has that scout, he'll go over the scouting report for that night. Then you get back to the hotel, rest, pregame meal, and then head to the arena. So you got a lot going on, a lot to take in once you get there. So definitely those things getting there comfortably, getting there in time to rest and get everything together and get yourself ready to play a college basketball game is huge.
Eric, I know, before we wrap up this conversation with the Cajuns, one more time, I know Ascension Episcopal has a big game tonight. Tell us a little bit more about your Blue Gator team this season.
Yeah, we've got, like I mentioned, we've got those 5 senior starters, and Scott, they all started for me last year. All 5 of them started as juniors. Austin Mills, Nelson Elmore, Luke Guidry, Cade Dardar, and Cole Colligan are my 5 senior starters. And then 2 seniors coming off the bench, J. Paul Guidry and Josh Lugo, give me some depth with a couple of juniors. My JV team is also playing well, having a good year. So everybody's saying, oh, you're going to lose a lot. Next year you're going to be down. I'm like, we got some young guys ready to step in and ready to go. So, 15-7 on the year. We're ranked about 11th in our division, kind of keeping an eye on the PowerPoints and trying to work our way into maybe a home playoff game. Coming up on February 11th, Brad Boyd's putting on a showcase for high school teams. He does that every year, and, he invited us to play in it this year, and we're going to take on the Turlings Rebels on February 11th at 2:40, and that's a big day of games. I know Brad's been putting it out there, but if you want to see some good high school basketball, a full day of action, he actually threw in a couple of middle school teams in there. So that's February 11th in the Cajun Dome. We're lucky enough to be invited, and we're going to take on a very good Turlings team that day, and then we'll have the home stretch. Franklin's probably the best team in our district. We're going to take them on next week. We hadn't played them yet. So it'll be they'll be in first place, we'll be in second place, and hopefully we'll be able to knock them off and tie it up at the top of district.
Yeah, February 11th, you mentioned it, the Cajun Dome Classic. Shout out Brad Boyd, ESA Midland, Turlings Ascension Episcopal, North Central Zachary, Beauchene and Ville Platte, LCA and Catholic High, and then STM and New Iberia. A day full of basketball, 6 games, 12 teams. It'll be a fun one to play. Back where Eric used to play many a games back in the day, and maybe tell Tim Floyd, maybe share an exchange or two with him before he shot a couple of free throws. Last thing on the Cajuns, Eric, as we circle back, how confident are you that they can win the tournament this year? Because as much as we're talking about the regular season, so much of it is to set yourself up to be in the position that can best help you win the tournament. Last year they made a run all the way to the final. It was impressive, but they came up just short, falling to Georgia State. Is this the year they can do it? I know for Coach Marlin, it's the goal. He always says it, right? Our mission is March. This is it. I mean, as much as we're talking about these road wins, when it comes to tournament, it's a little bit of a different animal. Obviously, the less games you can play to win it all, the better. That's the mathematical side of it. But the idea of playing more often and playing in a tournament style, do you feel like this team is built for it? Do you feel like this team is built to win the Sun Belt tournament this year? Because ultimately, that's the goal.
I think it is. I mean, I think they are. You got to stay healthy. You got to stay together. And I think this team, you got 14 guys on the roster, and they've been great players wherever they're coming from, whether it's high school or transferring to here into Louisiana. But you can't have those guys not on the same page and pulling for each other and having that chemistry. It's one thing to have talent, but you got to play within the program. You got to play within the system. And I think every one of these kids has bought into their role. I think Coach Marlin and his staff has done an outstanding job of explaining roles, and it seems like everybody that comes into the game has something to contribute to this team, and they understand that, and they play to their strengths, and they pull for each other. Seems like this team has gelled. This team has a point guard that can handle it, and also a backup point guard in Michael Thomas, who was concussed and out for a little while, and folks had to go a lot of the ways. But Michael Thomas can come in and give him a blow, give him a rest, and then come back with folks. But you got guys who can shoot. You got a great inside game. You got quality guys that can play defense, can guard the ball. You got guys that help and take charges, do the dirty work and rebound. And, I really enjoyed watching this team and seeing them develop and kind of seeing them gel. And I think this team definitely has a chance because of that chemistry.
All right, last thing. I know you're in the really just the middle of the basketball season, and so you're super busy Have you had any time to watch the Pelicans at all yet, or is it more, hey, once basketball season ends, high school, college, then I can kind of keep an eye on the NBA?
Scott, I have not watched, maybe a couple of minutes here or there, but I just hadn't had time to watch those guys.
All right. Well, when the season wraps up, check them out, and maybe they'll be healthy at that point. We can talk a little Pels basketball, maybe in April or something.
That'd be great. Love to do that.
All right, man. All the best. Good luck tonight, and appreciate you taking the time, Eric.
Thanks, Scott. Anytime.
You got it. Eric Mouton at Dr. Fundamental on Twitter. Ascension Episcopal head coach and athletic director, talking that and talking, of course, Cajun hoops.